provide an answer inside of, operationally speaking, the biggest aha moment is just like finding people that can delegate or that I can delegate tasks to and buy my time back and ultimately use my time to grow the business, as opposed to continuing to live in the trench of sales or the trench of coaching, which it's not really a scalable system. So yeah, I don't think I was shocked by that aha moment. I was anticipating that to happen. It's just how fast it happened, right? I kind of thought 6 months was where we would start to get some traction, and we were getting traction in like 8 weeks.
Adam, thanks for sitting here with me, having this conversation with me. I first start with thanking you for joining this journey with me when we started about 8 months ago, 10 months ago, maybe even a year ago now. And I know that you could have gone so many different ways, and we ultimately started working together. But two, for the execution and what you've built, because it's been incredible and so much faster than what you expect. Like, you're in the trenches all the time. It's hard for you to see, and you're maybe comparing to people that you see online. But for me, I have the ability to talk to so many coaches and people who've been doing it for a long time, people who are starting out, and you've been able to build the right systems and processes in place so fast that it's really incredible. So the sky's the limit for you. So I'm super excited.
I have a lot of that I could say in response to that. I would kind of return the thank you first and foremost by saying that I've been on LinkedIn for a long time. I've been coaching for a long time. I've watched handfuls of creators and people in similar spaces and places to me become really successful. Yeah. And the first problem was the mental problem that I had created of like, I can't do that for some ridiculous reason that I've superimposed on myself. That's not true. So yeah, kind of helping me to remove some of those mental roadblocks and then showing the steps and then kind of just getting the train rolling. It's been a fun experience and a rewarding experience, and yeah, happy to be here.
Oh, I'm excited. So I want to actually start by where you were and Broda coaching was before Opni. Yeah. How long you been a coach? What was the before Opni life was?
Yeah, loaded question. I started coaching actually back in 2017 when I was with Boeing. So that's kind of where my coaching began. I was mostly doing interviewing, prep, and converted to an actual business in 2020. As the pandemic was setting in and I was trying to change jobs, and I was thinking about what do I do where I can bet on myself if the economy totally collapses, right? How do I have something that I can rely on? So started Broda coaching then. First year was just a total experiment. I started as I was coaching in 3 things. I was doing life coaching. Never do that unless you're a medical professional. I did organizational coaching and I did career coaching. And that first year, through a process of experimentation and figuring out what my voice was and what resonated with my audience, made the decision around month 9 or 10 to really double down on careers. Yeah. So for me, because I had a full-time job virtually the whole time, I still have a full-time job now in 2024, going into 2025. It was all about figuring out a way to fit my side business into a realistic time box. So for me in 2021 and 2022, I kind of drew that line around 15 hours a week and said, okay, I'm going to only be able to put 15 hours a week into this because I'm still working in tech and I'm managing a team and an organization, and I want to keep doing that. I also am a dad and husband, and I want to pretend that I have a hobby sometimes.
You're training for a half Ironman. That is more than a hobby.
I wasn't but that's where that goes. But for almost 3 years, my coaching business was completely set in one-on-ones, and I had a system to, do sales and take clients on. I would typically only work with 2 or 3 people at a time. And the crazy thing is we had a really high success rate, which was common with one-on-one programs, right? Because you're investing a lot of time into people. But as my following grew on LinkedIn and as my kind of like the traction my business was able to create, I started rejecting something like 60 and then 70 and then 80% of the people. And by the time 2023 rolled around, 90+% of the people coming in the door and getting on those sales calls and wanting to talk to me, it was like, I'm sorry, we are full. Right. So yeah, my one-on-one business, did something like 5,000 or 6,000 in the very first year, which was kind of irrelevant because I was charging like $75 an hour and I didn't know what I wanted to even talk about. The second year we did something like 13 to 15K. And that's kind of where we systemized some things. The third year we were in like the 20 to 25K range. And that's kind of the rough version of the journey, is just trying to figure out how to create some, usable income on the side. And then I kind of said, well, once I hit a certain point, I'll figure out what I want to do with it once the curriculum is nailed down. And once I have a system, I think the thing that surprised me is how fast I got there. It did not take 3 years to get a system that got results for clients. It was just to make the next step up. It felt like I didn't have the time to build all the things I needed to build or hire the people I needed to hire. And so that's kind of why I stayed in that one-on-one vein for such a long time, is the time investment.
Yeah. Perfect. Let's talk about the transformation or like the major changes after joining Opni. What would you say were some of the biggest or a singular aha moment that you encounter through the last months that we've been working together?
Yeah, I'd say there's probably a few buckets that I could provide an answer inside of. Operationally speaking, the biggest aha moment is just like finding people that can delegate, or that I can delegate tasks to and buy my time back, and ultimately use my time to grow the business, as opposed to continuing to live in the trench of sales or the trench of coaching, which it's not really a scalable system. So yeah, I don't think I was shocked by that aha moment. I was anticipating that to happen. It's just how fast it happened, right? I kind of thought 6 months was where we would start to get some traction, and we were getting traction in like 8 weeks, maybe even less in some cases. So that hit very, very quickly. And again, that light bulb of like, okay, like hiring people to do this stuff, the momentum and the flywheel can really start to turn quite quickly. I'd say there was some other kind of major aha moments from a coaching perspective as well that have been really powerful for me. The biggest one is that when you're one-on-one coaching, you're the only voice. Like you're the data point that person has, right, wrong, or indifferent. And sometimes the problem is, everything is kind of a restriction of your time. So like you're responding to this person's emails, you're responding to this person's questions, they're waiting for you to get on one-on-one calls. Like sometimes they're not making progress until you can unblock them. And I'm not available 24/7, right? One of my aha moments is when I shifted to the community model, and we run our community in Slack. So we have group chats, we have private chats, is, the quality of the talent and, the level of professionalism that I let into the community in some cases can almost coach itself. Right. Like the average tenure in my program is right around 15 years of experience. And I have, a large swath of individuals that work at really cool companies and do really cool jobs. And when someone says, hey, what should I put at the top of my resume? Yeah, I can respond to that question and say, this is what our module says and here's what I recommend. But you also have all these other voices that jump in and, this is what I did to land a job, or this is what I'd recommend. And there's a really powerful needle that can move when you start to see the community show up for itself. That's a really incredibly powerful thing. And the community, I think, again, like my aha moment in second is it can just keep getting bigger. And the more alumni we have, the more people that are job searching.
The flywheel effect.
The more voices and support and stuff that happens, in addition to just like who you can connect with, right? If you join Better Work now, you get access to our job searchers, right? That's one group of people. And then this infinitely long group of alumni that already work at cool companies and already do cool things, and you can talk to them. So I never had any of that when I was living in that one-on-one box. And I wish I wish somebody would have slapped me a little bit earlier and said, like, you're missing out on this massive piece of value.
how would you say some of the systems and processes that we've helped implement in your business create consistency in your business?
There's a lot that I could probably fit into that answer. Consistency is important. I mean, kind of at a basic level, it's looking for repetitive tasks and figuring out how to systematize them. So like maybe writing an SOP, standard operating procedure, maybe tracking time and saying, well, hey, you have this person that's assigned to do these tasks. Let's look at how their time is actually being spent if we graphed it out on a pie chart. And then let's see if an automation can kill that task, right? And now we've created X number of hours for Adam or X number of hours for this individual. So yeah, kind of the data-driven approach that you all take and have kind of shown me how to take has been really, really helpful. And again, as a person that works in tech, like I love data. That's been really powerful. And I would say like, you're teaching me to think about my business as a product. You're teaching me to think about my business as, something that can run on its own and independently. And there's all these components of it. And again, I'm not shocked by that learning. It's been great to learn with people that are really good at that. Because for so many years, everything that I learned, I'm learning on my own. Yeah. Right. I'm doing all the research and I'm having calls with people, and it's taking me X number of months to kind of make a decision, because if I make the wrong decision, the entire business hinges on that. And Opni has kind of stepped in and be like, this is a proven approach. Yeah. We've done this bunches of times. It's successful this percentage of the time. Yeah. Do you want that option, or do you want this maybe slightly different version of it? And the time required, as I said, right, to get to success or achieve goals just shrunk way faster than I even expected. Yeah. I kind of put a multi-year goal out there when I started back in 2020. Yeah. I had like a 6-month kind of perspective when we started, and I was wrong in both of those cases. With help and with good coaching and good systems, we've been able to move really, really quickly.
Yeah, I love that you're sharing that, because I think if you're watching this, my biggest what I want them to take away is like saying, okay, what is the goal that it is, and it's reverse engineering the math, or like how many leads are needed, what you need in each process to be able to get a desired outcome. And I think that's what we try to help implement in your business and with all of our clients. And I'm glad that you've seen it work.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, it's the difference between trying to invent math and having a teacher teach you math. Yeah. Not surprising that one is easier than the other. Yeah. Yeah.
Can you share some specific results, metrics, client growth, or number of clients, or however when you want to share from even like the transformation from the time I was working together and before Opni?
Yeah, I can kind of start on the business growth side. So, everybody's going to come in with like a different set of circumstances. So I came in with a pretty large LinkedIn following, and the traffic already existed. So kind of keep that in mind. Like I skipped some of the more difficult steps because I had solved that problem before.
You had built a brand that's probably like top 1% of all LinkedIn. If not
leads was never the issue. Yes. I had, again, early 2023, I had 90% more leads than I could absolutely handle. Right. So, I would have said that if you had asked me the question, in a different stage of life. But like business wise, I'd say like my initial goal was to hit 10K months. Yeah. Like that would be a really strong performance metric. And I want to do that in the first year. And, Opni shows up and they like, let's math that out. Right. Yeah. As you said, let's reverse engineer. Let's figure out all the numbers that need to happen from a top of funnel to middle to bottom of funnel to hit that goal. And, as you said, or as I said, I kind of expected to do that in 6 months. And I think we legitimately did that in like 2. Yeah. Maybe even
once
less.
Like the program, because we didn't, it just context, we already knew that Adam, like you had the leads. Mm-hmm. So it was like, we just don't want to sell one-on-one. So we did take about 8 weeks to build out a more scalable program that didn't rely on a one-on-one side of it. But when we launched, it was,
which is hard for me because I love one-on-one and I don't want to ever remove myself from the coaching role. But finding the balance of the offer versus what the offer offers was a bit of a process. But like the speed to get to 10K months happening in less than 2 months was an incredible performance goal and an indicator that we're doing a lot of things right. Obviously, like businesses change all the time and never stop changing. So we're constantly automating and looking for ways to improve. But that was the first key win. I'd say the second key win was very recent, where we hired our first sales rep, right? Because again, like I have been doing all of my own sales for literally years.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that I am tired of it. I would just say like it's something I'm looking to kind of get my time back from.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
I don't consider myself the best salesperson.
But that's what I would say. Like, you're an engineer by trade. Like, it's not like sales is like, I can't wait for my sales call. Like, you rather spend that same time coaching your clients and delegate that out. Yeah.
Exactly. Coaching is where I want to be. And to be able to kind of remove myself from some of those parts of the pipeline process and still have success was a pretty major win. And again, if I'm doing that on my own, like, it's like a multi-month long process. Yeah. We did that in weeks, if not days, right? And now the person's there and we're ready to go and ready to, we're ready to create value. Yeah. So those are the two big business ones. And there's long list of other things. I'd say from like a coaching and customer placement perspective, I not to toot my own horn, but like that, we've generally done pretty well placing people as long as their expectations meet what we're capable of delivering. Yeah. So I think the first kind of problem to solve was how do we build a pipeline that pre-qualifies people so that I don't want to sell something to someone that I can't help them be successful. Yes. Like, it is not about just making as much money as possible. It's about creating something that delivers the right kind of value for the right person. Because when you win, we win. And that's how business should work. I'm big believer in that. So designing the pipeline in a relatively short period of time and seeing the proof in the pudding in the sense that like the right people were coming to calls, right backgrounds, right experiences, people with different skill sets or different interests. Watching the pipeline work has been incredibly encouraging. And we're placing people somewhere between like 3 and 4 months into our process on average. But our program is really unique in the sense that we do not put them on a timeline. We don't tell them that they have to go and do stuff in X number of weeks or months. Yep. We are what I would call like a high flexibility program where we let our clients determine their own timeline. So I have a handful of people that come in and are like, hey, 6 months, 8 months,
passively looking,
12 months. Passively looking. Maybe I just want to network, right? I want to meet everybody. That's why I'm coming in. So our success metrics are different than the traditional maybe coaching program or coaching community. But again, it's like we found the mechanisms that work for us. And that's been the cool part. Is that we don't have to kind of follow the same stamp that maybe everyone else does. We've created a system that works for our customers.
And shout out, because it was last week that I was seeing something that it was one of your clients that had gotten like doubled his pay or something like that. Like from like before he was working in your program, and then after he doubled his pay. And I just was like, I was like trying to remind like the team was like, this guy's life will never be the same. Like all this work that we've been putting, that your team has put way more work than I have, right? But like I was super excited to see that, which is why I love coaching career coaches. But like that impact, and I was like, kudos to you, because that person's life is, I think it was like he was making 60 and then he was and then now he was making 50 and he has to make 110 like. His whole life is,
which is on the low end of the spectrum for us, but like,
but for him,
like there's a huge difference, which is why I've been a career coach as long as I have. Like, when you're coaching people to get more followers or more likes or smiley faces, right? Like, that's cool, but it's really different when the win is like, my life is drastically better now than it was 3 months ago because of this program. That's why I stay in the career vein. It's those lifestyle transformations. And, Broda coaching, like the mantra we were kind of built around from the very beginning is we want people to design their lifestyle first. Tell us what your ideal lifestyle is, and let's find career options that work to enable that lifestyle. So like salary doubled, but another huge perk of what we were able to deliver is they went from 0 work from home flexible days to 3. Yeah. Right. Like, so now on top of their double salary, they have way more work flexibility, and like, there's just so many benefits. Yeah. that's the kind of stuff that we really care
And that
about.
guy probably won't even realize how awesome work from home 3 days a week because he's just so happy about the pay. But like 6 months from now, when the pay is already like you get used to
You
it,
stabilize.
you're like, I'm still working.
Driving around in his Porsche.
Yeah, exactly. Last kind of set of questions is more for people who are career coaches who either have felt like they got into a plateau or are just starting out. Like, what would be some advice you would give them or your younger self 2-3 years ago, knowing what you know now?
Yeah, I mean, if there was a regret, and I'd like to think that there really isn't, like, I could have scaled earlier and I could have changed some things, but I'm really not one of those people. I think everything happens for a reason, and I'm happy with the pace that I moved at. I'm glad that I worked with you all when I did, but I don't feel like I missed out.
Yeah.
The number one thing I probably would pass on to other career coaches is even if you're in a one-on-one environment, right? So let's say you're figuring out your curriculum and you're figuring out what works for people and you're fine-tuning what you're designing and creating and selling. I would still give people the encouragement to find a way to get those clients into a community. Get them into some sort of Slack channel, LinkedIn group, Discord, whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Get them into a place where they can talk to each other, share what's working, and that spark can ignite the flywheel and whatever, Batman metaphor you want to come up with. That is something I wish I would have done much, much earlier. And I always had the idea in the back of my head of like, well, what if they're unhappy and they're like,
telling each
what
other,
if they're miscommunicating things that I don't agree with? That's never happened, really. And I've been doing this now for a while. So
more pros and cons for sure.
There's way more pros than cons. Yeah. And I would say that's advice number one. And then advice number two is you at a certain point, whether that's a year in or 2 years in or 2 months in, you have got to run those self audits and say, how do I buy my time back? Right. If I have goals that have changed, if I want to make more money or want to, spend less time on this business or X, Y, and Z, assess the time buyback equations to figure out how to get more of your time back so you can do, so more things could be automated or someone else could do some of those less strategic tasks. I'd say that those are the two things I wish I would have done earlier. And what I would probably advise new career coaches or people trying to figure out how to start side businesses to do.
Love it. Well, Adam, thanks again for having this conversation, for sharing your journey, and more importantly, for the relationship that we've been able to build. Yeah. I mean, I think I'm still a little bit cooler than you are in most cases. So I think of myself slightly higher. I would agree. I would give you that.
Yeah. You did an Ironman though. I haven't completed that yet.
But I bet we'll see if your time is. I'm not even going to tell you my time.
You did tell me your time, and I wrote it down.
You did? That's
6:23.
I will tell you this: if you beat my time, I will get out of retirement and train for it and go back and do it again.